Hi everyone, this is Jasmine Glow and thank you for tuning in to another video. As you all know, I am a survivor of the cult called Nithyananda, and I have shared in the past some of my experiences with this cult and with this organization, which turned out to be a major cult. The leader of the group, Nithyananda, has actually been accused of several very serious crimes. And as you know, he is currently in South America hiding and on the run from the courts in India, in Karnataka, where there are several charges against him. So I just wanted to list the number of charges that are filed against Nithyananda because many people don't know. They're just guessing what it might be, but there are actually many things on the list that he's accused of and running away from. And just to give you a perspective, there are many gurus that in India that were accused of several crimes that also proclaimed to be enlightened, that proclaimed to be avatars or incarnations and whatnot. And for example, one of them is Asaram Bapu, and he was accused of raping a 16-year-old devotee. He is sentenced for life imprisonment in India. Another very famous guru called Guru Maharaj, also convicted of murder and is imprisoned for life. So there is a list of many charges that Nithyananda is facing, and I just wanted to give the details of these charges so that you are aware of what he's facing and why he's actually running from India. He declared that his life is in danger, that he was attacked, that he was, people were trying to poison him and kill him. These are all myths. It's actually not true. He is not, he's not being followed to be killed, but he was requested by the courts to finally attend his court case. These court cases have been filed in the Supreme Court of Karnataka since 2010. He has been absconding and avoiding attending these courts, as well as investigation of the cases that he's accused of. And finally he had to attend several investigations. For example, attending a medical test on his testosterone level to determine if he's capable of sexual activity, which he claimed he wasn't. He claimed his testosterone levels were of the degree of an 8-year-old child. When they finally dragged him to the hospital, I was in India, and they made physical tests and proved that he is a proper man with all, proper hormones of testosterone and very capable of sexual activity. But not going into that, I just wanted to list all the crimes that Nithyananda is guilty of and he's absconding from. And these are all available online. You can read them, you can look them up, including the details of the charges. So first of all, I'm going to be reading so that I don't miss out on anything. He's accused of rape, cheating, and criminal intimidation in the court of Biradi in Karnataka. The Karnataka police filed charge sheet in November 2010 for charges of rape, unnatural sex, criminal intimidation, cheating, and destroying evidence. The trial in this rape case is going on in Ramanagar Court in Karnataka in Sessions Case number 86/2014. Nithyananda and the other 5 accused all entered as not guilty plea, but Nithyananda absconding, not to be seen ever since. Second accusation is of murder and suspicious deaths in the ashram, Biradi, Karnataka. In December 2014, and I was present in the ashram when this happened. I personally was there when this happened, so just listen. A 24-year-old woman, Sannyasini, Miss Sangeeta, suddenly and mysteriously died in Nithyananda's Biradi ashram in Karnataka. Sangeeta's family filed a complaint of murder, likely by poisoning, against Nithyananda as they were shocked to receive a blue-black body from the mortuary. Sangeeta's mother filed a writ petition in High Court of Karnataka to have Central Bureau of Investigation investigate the alleged murder. This case is currently pending. In 2008, a Canadian person, Dr. Melvin Diamond, who was attending a 21-day enlightenment program in Birari Ashram, died mysteriously. One evening before his death, he had demanded a refund of several thousands of dollars he had paid for the program, which the ashram refused to pay him back. His body was found in the ashram next morning, and hospital declared him dead on arrival. However, Nithyananda, using his influence, obtained a false death certificate that Mr. Melvin was admitted alive and then died of heart attack. The same thing they said about Sangeeta, the 24-year-old girl. They actually claimed that she died of heart attack. This is what they told us. I worked with her the day before. I knew her very well. She was around. She was very nice, but I read a story that she actually knew of some happenings behind the scenes of Nithyananda having sexual encounters with women. She was a witness to that, and she spoke up that, you know, she actually seen has something, so she was suspicious to them, and they suddenly got rid of her. From one day to the other, we were all announced like she had a heart attack and she was 24 years old. So we felt something wasn't right, but we had no idea what was going on. So this is actually going on in court. Second one was this Dr. Melvin. Number 3, suicide attempt, cover-ups. In 2008, a 17 to 18-year-old boy living in the ashram attempted suicide. He was rushed to the hospital and was in a coma for 5 days. After the boy recovered and left the ashram, he disclosed to his parents that the day before he attempted suicide, he was beaten badly and publicly humiliated by Nithyananda and other ashramites for a trivial reason. The boy and his family was threatened and forced by Nithyananda to lie about this incident through a false testimony to the Karnataka CID in 2010, which the family confessed to police in 2011. There have been other suicide attempts in the ashram, but they were all covered up with false documentation, testimonies from the victims under threat of dire consequences if they reported anything to the authorities. Number 4, child abuse. Child Welfare Committee, Bangalore, Karnataka. Complaints of child abuse filed against the Gurukul school in Nithyananda's Birari ashram were investigated by the Child Welfare Committee of Karnataka in 2012 to 2013. The Child Welfare Committee, after detailed inquiry, passed an order that the Gurukul school should be shut down within 7 days. The said order was stayed by the High Court of Karnataka, and it is pending at present. Number 5, economic offences. Complaints filed in 2014 against Nithyananda's tax evasion, money laundering, and such economic offences are being investigated by the Enforcement Directorate in Bangalore. The investigation is still ongoing. 6, violations of Tamil Nadu Hindu religious and charitable endowments. Nithyananda collected massive donations, claiming to run a huge temple with 1,001 Shiva lingas installed, and daily temple services being offered to thousands of people in Tiruvannamalai, Tamil Nadu. On receiving a show cause notice, Nithyananda immediately dismantled the entire temple, removed all deities, and claimed it to be a yoga center. Writ petitions were filed in Madras High Court against his illegality, and the same is pending in court. Number 7, fraudulently grabbing religious mats, Madurai, Tamil Nadu. A case of fraud and criminal intimidation was filed against Nithyananda by the present Pontiff of Madurai Adinam in ancient and important Shaivite mat in Madurai, Tamil Nadu. Nithyananda was accused of playing fraud upon him and forcing him to name Nithyananda as his successor and the 293rd Pontiff to the Madurai Adinam. I was in India when this happened. We didn't know that Nithyananda actually forced this Pontiff, 292nd Pontiff, and he tried to con him, basically, but it doesn't surprise me. The Pontiff announced that Nithyananda would not be his successor and picked a different person as his successor, 293rd Pontiff of Madurai Adinam. The court had barred Nithyananda from entering the Madurai Adinam after an unsuccessful and illegal attempt to take over the mat. Number 8, temple property fraud. This happened in Hyderabad. Nithyananda made his follower, late Mrs. Sujata Reddy, donate the Rajarajeshwari temple she owned in Hyderabad, Telangana, on the promise that he would start a Vedic university. However, no such Vedic university was created as promised, and it turned out to be one more of his several lies to cheat the donor of the high-value property. A civil suit for return of the property is pending in District and Sessions Court, Hyderabad. Number 11, land grabbing. Salem, Rajapalayam, and other places in Tamil Nadu. Several civil cases have been filed by ex-donors for return of their properties by which they gifted to Nithyananda because of his false promises, but later used it only for his personal gain. Other cases. Nithyananda and his organization face series of criminal charges, including hurting religious sentiments in 2010, illegal use of wildlife products like poached animals. In June of 2012, Nithyananda was arrested twice and held in jail because of his direct violent attacks against the media that were caught on video. There are cases in US that are pending. First of all, for fraud and racketeering for $1.5 million in Los Angeles, California. Second case of fraud is for $800,000 pending in Los Angeles, California. And other civil cases filed in Riverside, California, and Franklin County, Columbus, Ohio. Complaints to California Attorney General. In 2010, an ex-devotee, Douglas McKellar, lodged a complaint against Nithyananda and his organizations to the California Attorney General. In 2011, Douglas McKellar also lodged several complaints with the Internal Revenue Services, which started earnest investigation of Nithyananda, his organizations, and many of his officers. Let me list some of the abuses that Nithyananda is guilty of. First of all, it's abuse of children and minors. On the morning of December 31st, 2017, children living in the Bengaluru compound of this cult were terrifyingly awakened by their Gurukul teacher, brandishing a stick, who forced them to beat each other until they bled and cried. Following this abuse, many of the students with visible injuries were kept locked in a caged area within the dormitory until their bruises, welts, and black eyes healed. These kids are not permitted the living conditions essential to health and well-being. Such shocking accounts of torture and abuse have been revealed by several children after leaving the Gurukul. In the name of Hinduism, their parents have entrusted them to Nithyananda, who promised a good education and a non-violent ambience, but the treatment faced by these children is the opposite of what it claims to be. Second abuses are abuse of women, men, and children. Nithyananda preys on the vulnerability of his surrendered disciples, and after convincing them he is Sadashiva incarnate, lures them into performing sexual acts on him. He has done this with program participants, residential devotees, and underage minors in his Gurukul kids. His victims are groomed through sexting in social media chats, where he compliments their looks, sends them for pornography, asks them to describe sexual fantasies, and encourages them to experience a relationship with him and only him. Several girls from Nithyananda Gurukul, who are 15, 16-year-olds, are publicly filming videos on their YouTube channels and on their Facebook accounts, proclaiming that they are Nithyananda's princesses and that they are, his loves, and that nobody will ever understand. It's horrifying to see that. Screenshots of these illicit chats have been shared with us, but to protect the identity of the victims, we are not sharing their names at this point. Further abuses include criminal intimidation, silencing victims and witnesses using threats and coercion. Nithyananda regularly misuses courts and police to silence his critics and victims. He does this by making his disciples, both women and men, to make false allegations of rape or sexual abuse and molestation. His followers, being brainwashed cult members, do anything and everything as is instructed by him. Nithyananda orders such attacks many times through the top leaders, administrators, and his organizations, and rarely orders it directly to protect himself. But we know for a fact that nothing happens in his ashram without his instruction, direction, order, knowledge, or consent. False criminal cases. There was a whistleblower called Lenin Karupan who has been targeted with several false rape complaints by Nithyananda's women's disciples because he published a tape of a hidden camera from Nithyananda's bedroom where he recorded over 50 hours of the activities in his bedroom with the actress Sangeeta, who is his #1 right hand in the ashram, called Nithyananda Mai right now. One false complaint alleging abuse and rape allegations were filed by his disciple Pushpa Akamanitya Supriyananda, and complaint was investigated twice by 2 different police stations and closed both times as false and motivated. 5 identical retaliatory complaints alleging trespassing, etc. were filed against Lenin, the same person who exposed him by the tape. False complaints were alleged in Ramnagar, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu by Ranjita and ashram manager Mohan Raj. These are pending in court for discharge. Several cases of criminal defamation wrongfully implicating Lenin and R.T. Rao filed in Ramnagar, Bangalore, Karnataka. The High Court of Karnataka and Allahabad have stayed the proceedings in some complaints and considering quashing the same. False case of molesting a minor was filed in 2010 in Seattle by his disciple Lakshmi Sahiti Maladi. The appeal is pending. Several similar false allegations were also filed by Nithyananda's disciples against R.T. Rao in California, USA. This is the woman who has been raped over 5 years by Nithyananda. False complaint of stealing money was filed against Mrs. Amuda Bharati, who was in charge of Malaysia Ashram. False allegations of molestation have been filed against media persons who reported the illegal activities in his ashrams. So, there is a lot that Nithyananda is guilty of, including character assassinations, money fraud, tax evasions, money laundering, and etc. I have been with Nithyananda. I lived with Nithyananda in his ashram in India for 5 years, and he was always proclaiming that he is building hospitals and schools all over India, that he will build many temples. He proclaimed that he will build a huge golden temple on his property in Biradi and collected huge donations for that, and the temple hasn't even started to be built. There were never schools or hospitals built by Nithyananda. Many owners of properties and lands donated these lands to Nithyananda by his claims of, building social infrastructure, supporting people of India, which was never done. So they are now asking for these lands to be returned. I just wanted to bring this to your attention so that you're aware of how much criminal charges are pending above Nithyananda's head and why he's running and hiding in South America. He actually doesn't have a legal passport, valid passport. The passport was taken away from him so that he wouldn't travel, but somehow with the amounts of money that he stole and has in his deep pockets, he was able to either create a false passport and leave the country, and he's hiding and running away from justice. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. As you know, people that are speaking out and telling the truth and are witness to his crimes are attacked, and they are falsely accused. I personally have left the ashram in 2014 and left my position in the ashram, and so far I haven't been accused of anything, but since I am making videos now, in case there will be any charges coming up against me, any false charges like drug trafficking, molestation, sexual false charges, or I don't know what else he will come up with. Like he came up with these against my friends that I personally know and have shared their experiences in the ashram and with life, from Life with Nithyananda in his organization. They have been accused of many false charges that are absolutely ridiculous and unreal, and they have experienced character assassination and very brutal attacks, verbal attacks by his followers and the brainwashed disciples that are still on his side, supporting him and his mission. So currently Nithyananda is, for the second year in a row, trying to conduct a program, Mahasada Shivoham, which last year cost was $15,000 for this program. He has raised the price to $16,000. I want to let you know that he is not going to be personally attending this program. He is claiming that he will be there in his Divya Sharira, which means his divine body. But what actually happens is that attendees of the programs are gathered in a hall, and there is a 3D projector projecting his image. And people that attended the program last year and 2 years ago have claimed that there was actually nothing that the program has delivered. Nithyananda is claiming that he will initiate people to over 400 spiritual powers. I can testify that the people that I have met that came back from these programs have no powers. Some of them might have had some success with blindfold reading, but as we know, this is a midbrain activity that can be trained upon, regular training. But there are no other powers that the people brought in, and definitely he didn't deliver anything that would be worth $15,000. He's literally stealing millions of dollars in a December program where, there are several hundreds to 1,000 people attending a program for $15,000, $16,000. So I just want to warn anyone who is considering attending some of Nithyananda's programs is that it is a complete false claim of anything that he's telling you. He's actually declaring that people, if they pay the fee of the program 4 times or more, will materialize in their account right away. It hasn't happened to anybody. All the people that I know who have attended have indebted themselves and, spent the money repeatedly only to create a bigger debt for themselves. So this is just a testimony from me as a first-hand experience living in Nithyananda's ashram, and there are hundreds of people that are now part of our group as Nithyananda cult survivors speaking out about their experience. We are being attacked. We are being told that we're demons, we are rakshasas, we are working for church, we are being paid by some church to speak out. We are part of another cult, creating a anti-Hindu religion. None of these accusations are real, and none of these accusations are true. We are sharing our own first-hand experiences with the premise to help others that could fall prey to this dangerous man. So I hope this was helpful to you, and like I said, all these criminal charges are to be found on the internet. You can Google them, you can find details of the charges, and you can also find details of Nithyananda's past, and you can find many videos of Nithyananda cult survivors speaking out about their experience, which should help you open the eyes and not to fall prey to him. So thank you so much for tuning in, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.